welcome along to the Invincible podcast with my man Lee Judges in the building. First of all, before we get started, let me just remind you about the Invincible podcast live. If you haven't already got your tickets, make sure you get your tickets right now. It's going to be taking place on Tuesday, the 23rd of May at the Islington Assembly Hall. Me and Lee are going to be up on stage with a load of guests. There's going to be a load of guests. All of the AFTV family are going to be there, right? And we are going to be discussing the Arsenal. Don't know what that discussion is going to be about. We're going to win the league. The
aftermath.
The aftermath. But listen, we want you to join us there on that day. It's going to be a great event, right? Live. The first time this podcast is going to be in a live event, and we want as many of you as possible. Tickets are selling fast, so get involved in that right now. The Invincible podcast live at the Islington Assembly Hall with me and Lee Judges and guests. I think Ty's going to be around if we can shut him up, right? Ty's going to be one of those, right? Make sure you come and be part of that podcast. We're really, really looking forward to that. Yeah, we're here for the show today, and the general vibes and thing, as we know, over the past few days ain't been great. I just got one question to ask you, Mr. Lee Judges. What has gone wrong with our title challenge? A few weeks ago, we were looking good. 8 points clear. Games in hand and stuff like that. Now, all of a sudden, it's swung the other way. Man City in the driving seat after their victory over us the other night. Conceding goals left, right and centre. Throwing away leads. You know, going 3-1 down at home to the team that's at the bottom of the league. What has gone wrong with our title challenge?
It's a great question, because I didn't see it coming. I'm going to be really honest. I think I've always been cautious that we might not win the league because of the games that we've got, and we're playing Manchester City. So I've never been saying that. But what I did think is that we would push them right to the end with the way we was playing. I think a few things have gone wrong. I will look back on it and I'll say 3 games have cost us. Obviously, like Southampton won. I think Liverpool won maybe a little bit, right? But I'm going to go back to Sporting game.
Sporting, that was Europa League.
Yeah, but we lost 2 players that day in Saliba and Tomiyasu. Yep. And also we lost that game. And listen, I think it's up for debate whether you think that it was good going out of Europe and all. I didn't think it was that bad a thing at the time, but my mate put up a good point in one of our groups, and I won't be really on 9 times out of 10 I don't agree with him, like, you know, but it got me thinking, Robbie, about it, like, you know. And what he was saying was that going out of Europe means now that what happens is that you play Liverpool on the Sunday. Things don't go quite well. You've got the whole week before the next game thinking about it and everything like that. Then you get another bad result. We've got another week. If you had games in between, you just go to game to game, game to game. If you look at it with Manchester City, they've sort of got momentum going in there. Now, on the flip side of that is that we haven't got a big enough squad, right? But next season, we've got to make sure we have got a big enough squad, because we've got to be going in game for game, game for game. I do think that we maybe put all our eggs in one basket, and it's not come up now. But I know.
You know what? I'm straight away. I'm going to disagree with that. I believe that's an easy narrative to come with now and an easy thing to say, but we just not have. I think it was actually done us a favour going out of that, right?
We haven't played well since.
But the reason being is that we do not have the squad to fight on both fronts. Now, where did those players get injured?
In the Europa League.
Those 2 players, 2 key players that you just spoke about, and I had a similar argument with someone about this the other day, and it was Kelechi. Because Kelechi goes, see, I told you, and he was going with this big narrative, and I'm saying, where did those 2 players get injured? They got injured in the Europa League. 2 key players, Saliba and Tomiyasu. If we had Tomiyasu the other night, we could possibly have said, right, let's put Ben White back into centre-back, play Tomiyasu as a right-back, or even Tomiyasu maybe. We could put Tomiyasu in there to give a bit more steel. Tomiyasu out for the season after that game. Yeah. Saliba looking like he's going to be out for the season, the way things are going.
He's out for the season.
those was because of those extra games in Europe. We do not have the squad to cope with it. And I hear what you're saying about momentum and like even this weekend now. I mean, after following that City game,
you just need to get back on the horse straight away. You know what I'm saying?
I'm peed off that Chelsea game was cancelled because I think we could have done with just playing that game straight away, just get out of the way that, you know, we lost against City and just get them. But the reality of it is we don't have the squad at this moment in time to cope with that. You know what I mean? There's other positions in our team that if Saka had gone down or Martinelli, you know, I know we got Trossard who can come in, but you know, if Ben White gets injured, then what? You know what I mean? We just don't have.
Listen,
if Gabriel gets in, we just don't have that squad.
I get
right
that,
now.
and that's something that we've got to look at and address and all that. And I think
100%.
I'm going back to West Ham away, 2-1 down.
Yep.
And the penalty.
Yep.
That penalty goes in, we get those points. It may be like the momentum was going to be going there.
That would have given us the momentum going to the Southampton game.
It's the Southampton game, you know. And I do think that going into Wednesday, I felt we had the baggage of those 3 games going into it. If you look back into January when we went up there, not Peacock, weren't we? With chest out, went up there, made loads of changes, played them off the park for the first half. On Wednesday night, we never had a look in from the first minute to the last. I'll tell you what, looking back on it, it was a tough watch, Rob. It was a tough watch. From the first minute, it was like going to, you know, I honestly, be really honest with you, if that was a theatre, I'd be asking for my money back. You know what I mean? Like, because I didn't enjoy it one bit. Like, it was excruciating, like, to watch. From you know, I think we could have been 4 or 5 down. We never looked like we was in it. It was actually tough seeing our players wilt. If I'll be honest, really wilt under the game. I didn't like to see that. Players hiding, players not playing well, players looking like out of their depth. It was just a very, very hard watch all the way through, and also the manager out of his depth on that game. I'm not having you know, we can go on about Mikel. Listen, he's won me round, Mikel, this season. I'm a big fan of his now, you know. I wasn't a year ago or 2 years ago. I am now. He deserves. I can't believe all this rubbish about he needs to be sacked and all that. Like, I can't believe it. It's absolutely ridiculous.
That's rubbish.
Ridiculous. You know what I mean? Like, yes, he'll be under pressure next season, and yes, you know what I mean. Like, why will he be put under pressure? Because he's put himself in that position, which is what you want him to do. But he was outscored, outfought on Wednesday night, and I have looked back at the game because I felt I had to, because this is the trouble when you do these things, you have to look back at it, don't you? Like, you know, and I've looked back at it. He done nothing to change the momentum or the shift of that game. You know, nothing. I look at other teams when it's going wrong, do something different and all that. Like, I get that he wanted to, you know, this has got us to here, so I kept going, well, yeah, sometimes you have to change things. And what you have to say with Pep, he's gone up in my estimations, because I've always, you know, he's always been a great manager and that, but I've always had that thing out. You've always had the best players, the money and everything like that. But they're at home, needing to win, changed it. Changed it, you know what I mean? I thought they were fantastic. I have to say that they were fantastic. Out-tactic us in every department. Walker, I thought, was superb on the night, you know, and obviously the 2 up front were Haaland
and De Bruyne.
But in saying that, as I say with De Bruyne, I think De Bruyne is a fantastic footballer. We know he is, like, you know what I mean. But do you give him the freedom of the park at home?
Well, that's what we did, and we paid the price.
You know what I mean?
Absolutely ridiculous.
Ridiculous.
By the way, just to remind you that this show is powered by NordVPN. Be invincible by using the code AFTV at the checkout and visiting nordvpn.com/AFTV. NordVPN is an absolute essential if you're going on holiday. You going on holiday soon?
I'm thinking about it, Robbie. I am thinking about it. Yes, I'm going to go to Portugal. As soon as the season's finished, I'm off to Portugal. And I'll tell you what.
This guy, man.
I know, like, you know.
You're a player.
Well, I am. And an international break, I'm going to go back to Dubai. And NordVPN will be with me, because I'm telling you, it is quality when you're abroad.
You use it?
100%, yeah. What I do is...
Serious now, no advert.
Seriously, no adverts.
Do you use it?
I do, yeah. I seriously do. And I'll tell you why I use it is because you can... When you go in a hotel, like, and you've got that hour from coming from the beach or the pool to going for dinner and getting ready for that sort of thing there. You have that hour. You put on the old TV on the hotel, not that much TV on there. Get your iPad on, get all that. You get all the English TV out there, watch Match of the Day, or when you come back, EastEnders, if the missus wants to watch that while you're getting ready. And all of a sudden, you're doing those little things. It's enjoyable with all that English TV on there. It is fantastic. I'll tell you what, for that alone, it's fantastic.
There you go. Not even an ad. There you go. NordVPN. Right. So if you want to get NordVPN, click the link in the description. Visit nordvpn.com/AFTV, and you can get it. If you go on holiday as much as he does, it's absolutely essential.
It is.
Going back to what you were saying about the game, I think this is one of the problems, I say problems because the manager is learning. I think it's one of the issues with Arsenal at the moment is that I've noticed, Lee, we've got one way of playing.
Yeah.
Now, it's served us very, very well this season. You know what I mean? We've been excellent. We've been on the road. We've been positive. Actually, away from home is where we've seen some of our best performances this season. We've kept clean sheets. But I think I was sort of looking back at the game and analysing it. And whilst I wanted us to be really positive going into the game, and we still could have been positive, I feel, even with this method, I think in hindsight, we should have been a bit more defensive in that game, right? We should have done something to make us a bit more solid at the back. We've been going, you got to analyse how we're coming into the game. You said it yourself very well a minute ago that when we went there in January, we were going there off the back of, winning games. I think we beaten Tottenham, we beat Man United, a bit of swagger about us, you know what I mean? And even in that game, we played pretty well. I mean, it was 1-0. They literally played their first team in that game. We even rested players and we gave it,
Yeah, better account of ourselves.
But I think in this game, like you said, we're going into the game, we're on a bit of a low confidence-wise because, after the Liverpool threw away a lead, West Ham threw away a lead, also, the Southampton game. So we're under a bit of pressure. Now, sometimes you have to say to yourself, as positive as you want to be, sometimes you have to say to yourself, we're under a little bit of pressure tonight. So you know what? We're going to start off this game and this will be really solid. We're going to be rock solid at the back. We're not going to concede nothing. They'll have a load of the ball, but we're not going to concede nothing, and then we'll catch them on the counter attack.
Yeah, exactly that.
And but we weren't. We were very open. We played a very, very high line, right? Which they played upon because they just had Haaland on Holding or Gabriel. They just hit a ball into him, bang, and they'd be in.
Yeah.
And it was way too easy they scored those goals. Now, I just think in that game, maybe it should have been a Tierney who started. We should have been a bit deeper. We should have maybe, dropped two in that midfield, like a midfield, sort of like a defensive midfield pivot, so it weren't just Partey to cope with Haaland, so that your defensive midfielders are dropping back in and coping with Haaland, and then on the counter-attack now, we have a go at City. But I think we went into that game just as we've gone into every single other game this season, which is just attacking mode on. And I think if you've had games where we've conceded a lot of goals in the last few games, you have to change it up. And I think this is one thing we're going to have to learn, and we're going to have to learn fast, particularly next season in the Champions League. Not everywhere you're going to be able to go with your game completely. Now, I think Pep's learnt that. I think once upon a time with Pep Guardiola, everywhere he went, his style of playing, bang. If it don't work out, we lose. If it works out, we're going to thrash you. Guardiola, when he came to the Emirates this season, very noticeable that they were a lot more defensive. I think we had 60% possession against a Guardiola team. That's unheard of. But he switched his tactic up. He knew that Arsenal were on fire at the time. He knew about our attacking prowess. And they sat in a bit and just waited on mistakes. And that's how they punished us. And I just felt the other night, adapt the game a bit, adapt it a bit. You know what I mean? We know that we've got Rob Holding in there.
Protect him.
Right? We know that Rob Holding, his strengths, he's not Saliba.
No.
There was a part, I've mentioned this a few times I did a live, right? There was a part when he was a bit isolated with Haaland. He could have either passed it back to He could have passed it back to Ramsdale. He was under a bit of pressure on the side.
On the right, but yeah.
On the right-hand side, he was under a bit of pressure. He could have passed it back to Haaland, or he could have shielded it and tried to turn out, find a pass, or even try and beat Haaland and get away from it. What did he do?
Just kicked it straight out.
He kicked it straight into Rosed, because you know why? He realises that he doesn't have that ability. He doesn't trust himself to go back to the keeper because he's thinking, what if I get it wrong? He's not going to turn out because he's thinking, I'm not too sure I'm going to be able to have the skill to get away from Haaland. So you know what? Which is the right thing for him to do, by the way.
Yeah.
Because if you don't trust yourself, rather than you mess it up like we've seen Maguire,
he
said, you know what? Ain't taking no chances, Rosed. If that's Saliba,
he turns out, or he goes back to the keeper, or he backs himself. Now, we don't have Saliba at the moment. We've got Rob Holding, so then you've got to look at his strengths. As I say in football, his super strengths and his weaknesses. His super strengths is he's an old-fashioned, solid defender, decent in the air, strong, you know what I mean, does the basics very well. Get him some help in front of him. I felt a bit sorry for him and Gabriel. It was so easy for Haaland and De Bruyne to run through that midfield. Put a double pivot there, a bit of protection, 2 holding midfielders, win the ball and get it up to, you know what I mean? I just felt, and we don't do that. We've not done that in any game this season. And I'll be interested to see what we do against Newcastle next week, because that's another game where, you know, their score.
But we've got to adapt a bit. Yeah, I mean, we're going through a tough time at the moment. Adapt it a bit.
I'm with you on this. And this is not hindsight. We were saying this before. We were saying it before the game. He's got to change it up a little bit. Like, you know, there were certain things that he could have done it. I go back, you know, he with Mikel, sometimes I don't know whether I believe him or not. You know what I mean? And, oh, yeah, Jorginho on this and that. Like, well, he has hardly used him. And if there was a game to use him, 100%, especially when Xhaka wasn't 100%. You could have played. You could have started off with Xhaka and Partey there, or if Xhaka's not 100%, Jorginho and I just think that was that was something.
There needed to be more protection in front of that. We're not in a good place over the last few games when it comes to conceding. There's nothing wrong with admitting that and saying, guys,
listen, Rob. He changed his tactics up, Pep, and we turning around and going, "Oh, they're scared of Arsenal," or "Oh, like, you know, it's a sign of weakness." No, we're complimenting them because he changed.
No, he's wary.
Yeah,
but we go back to that first game. Sorry to chop into you there. We go back to the first game at the Emirates. Pep Guardiola is wary of Arsenal.
Yeah, of course he is.
Like, you know what? He's thinking to himself, when I came here last year, we were a bit fortunate to win this game.
Yeah.
Arsenal took it to us. I'm studying the games when Arsenal played Man United, when they played Liverpool. You know what? If we come there and try and play our normal stuff,
they can do us.
So we have to switch it up a bit. We're going to go a bit more defensive today. I don't care if people say, well, what's happened? There comes Pep Guardiola's giving up some of the possession.
Didn't care.
This is the only way we're going to beat them the way they're playing.
And you admire him for it.
Yeah, but
you admire him for it.
Yeah, because you can't just go into every game and say, well, we're sticking at. That's what Arsene Wenger used to do over the years.
And that's
Remember
what
Wenger used to do.
100%.
He used to play the same way every single game.
And then he comes up against Man United and Ferguson would change it. What I admire about Pep, there's 2 things I admire, and this is where we're at a different level to where they are at the moment, as fans and as a team, right? They're smashing every single team at this moment in time, whether you think it's Bayern Munich, the team from Germany, Leipzig, they've smashed them. They're beating anybody that's in there. He changed it because he knew that if he could get done. I admire that, and he done that. Like he done that, and also their wide player Mahrez had just scored an hat-trick, and he left him out. Now imagine if Martinelli had scored a hat-trick against Man City and we left him out. There would be people going, what is he doing? What's he doing?
They do have an unbelievable squad.
They have an unbelievable squad, but
that goes back to what I said at the start about when I'm talking about the Europa League and that. They can play again.
But that is what we've got to aim for, Robbie. I know it's difficult.
No, next season
that
we have to aim for that. That is what
we've got to aim for. We've got to aim for it. I am sick and tired, right, of going on starting 11s, right, and oh no, Partey's out, we're disappointed. Oh, so-and-so's out, Xhaka's out, and it's a big effect. I don't want that next season. Next season, you know what I mean, you've got the Champions League now, no excuses about when we got Partey out, oh, all right, so-and-so's in, that's all right, that's all right.
It annoys me sometimes, even when I hear fans say, Yeah, but if we go and buy him, what happens to him?
I don't care.
This is the competition.
I do not care. There's a thing on that. We played Southampton, and I remember you saying it on the starting level. Are you happy with that lineup? And I went, no, because Xhaka's not playing. That's bottom of the league, and we're not happy because one of our star players is not. But we cannot afford to have none of these players out. The reason we can't afford to have them out is because we haven't got anything to back it up. You know what I mean? Xhaka was out last game, right? Yeah, we put in Vieira, didn't work. Xhaka half fit. We still played him again in our biggest game because we didn't have no one else. I don't want that no more. You know, it's very, very hard at this moment in time. I find it very, very uncomfortable to come out and slag off the team and slag off the players, slag off the manager when they've done so well this season. Been brilliant. I remember, you know, White Hart Lane this season, like, you know what I mean? It was a breathtaking performance from start to finish. Outclassed Tottenham on their own patch, and it was a pleasure to watch. So, you know, it's just gone wrong on the last couple of games, and I feel very, very reluctant to slag them off, and that's how I feel. I come out of that game, of course I'm hurting and all that lot, but how can you go on there and go, right, they're this and they're this and they're that? Because at the end of it, they've been bloody, for 8 or 9 months of this season, been fantastic.
Yeah.
Also going into it, like, you know, we lost Jesus for 3 months, like, you know, and we got through that. But I will say this, and I said it and I've said it and I'll say it again as many times as I went on that tour in America, and I see Saliba, and I turn around and I've said it ever since, game-changing player. He's our Van Dijk. I'm not saying he's as good as Van Dijk at the moment, but he is our Van Dijk. Physically strong, very, very powerful, but can play. Look at the goal against Fulham when he was under pressure against Fulham. Plays it out to Xhaka and we go away and score. Not many central defenders can do that. He's got class. He's only 21. He is an absolute class player. Hard to replace. So when you're looking at Holding coming in there and go, oh, he's no Saliba. Well, we know he's no Saliba. Saliba was a game-changing. It's unfortunate that we've got and lost him at this time. I don't know if we'd have won the way that Manchester City played with Saliba in that team, to be honest. But I don't think we'd have shipped free against Southampton.
I'm not saying, I agree with you. I don't think we'd have.
I don't think we'd have shipped the goals against West Ham.
Yeah, I think the West Ham game and the even the Liverpool game with Saliba
I think we'd have.
Might have been a different game, you know what I mean? He's been that big for us this season. He's been that important. And that's what I said, you know what I mean? That's caught up with us a bit. We've had a dip at the wrong time. We've had a dip in the season at the very, very worst time. But now it's all about what do we do about that. Now I was doing a live the other day with Laurie, right? And the live was titled "It's Not Over Yet." And just from the mere mention, now this is where me and some fans fall out, yeah. From the mere mention of that title, there's people coming on, Robbie, you're deluded, shut up, blah, 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 it's over, it's done, why are you coming with a title like that, blah, blah. No. For me, the realistic thing is, for all intents and purposes, right, if you look at the games remaining that we have and City have, City are the favourites to win the league now. They are in the driving seat after beating us. They've beaten us home and away. The reality is they're the best team in the league right now. They've overtaken us, right? In that, right? And everybody expects them to go on and win the league, and including me. However, it's not over yet. It's not finished. It's not done. Arsenal have got 5 games left to play, and I want to see Arsenal go out there, get back to their best, get back to what they've been doing all season, and go out there game by game, take it a game at a time. Don't look too far ahead. Next game, Chelsea, and say, right, we're going to go out there and we're going to put in a performance against Chelsea. Chelsea have been on a real downer. We're going to put in a performance against Chelsea, and we're going to get the 3 points, and we're going to get goals, and we're going to get our confidence back. And then we're going to go into the other games for the rest of the season and do the same thing. Because this team must not finish this season with a whimper. And it's not fully over yet. We've got to put pressure on Manchester City. They have to earn it all the way to the end. What if, now I'm hoping, and I'm dreaming, and I'm praying, But what if football is a weird game, you know? What if they drop points in some of these games? What if they have they suffer a shock loss? What if they then, the Real Madrid game takes a bit out of them and they have a little dip and they draw a game? We've got to be in a situation where if that did happen, we can take advantage of it. So it's not over yet. It's not completely over yet.
I agree with you in a certain way. In another way, I don't. I think we've got to have a little.
Well, when you say in a certain way you don't, what do you mean by that?
Well, because I can't see Man City slipping up.
No, I know that. I know you can't see them slipping up.
What from our point of view, what we've got to do is win every game now, and forget about Man City now. Like
Exactly.
Don't let our season peter out and let Newcastle or Manchester United overtake us, because that would be disastrous from our point of view. But I'll tell you where the scenario of what you're saying comes in. Right, Wednesday night. We go up there for that game. I'm a big Ronnie O'Sullivan fan. Love the snooker.
I remember you going on about him on the way out. How boring.
Whatever way you look at it.
Yeah.
So he's 10-6 up. First one to 13, right? 10-6 up.
He's a Chinese player, wasn't it?
No, he was playing the Belgian player.
Oh, Belgian player,
right?
sorry.
So he's 10-6 up.
Apologies.
So I wake up in the morning, after we get home, and I thought, watch a bit of Ronnie O'Sullivan. Don't know the score. He lost the next. He come out in the evening session. He's a big Arsenal fan as well, Ronnie O'Sullivan.
He
right?
is.
You know
He
what I mean?
is.
So maybe you've been thinking about the Arsenal game on the Wednesday. He come out.
You bottled it, Ronnie.
Right, he bottled it, Ronnie. Ronnie
You've
bottled
won
it.
about 10 titles, but you bottled it.
And he's the best player in the world.
Best player in the world.
Right,
yeah.
he needs 3 frames to win it, to go into the semi-final. I've put up the semi-final, and he ain't on it. He lost all 7 frames that night. So it can happen to the best of them.
Stay in it. Do you remember? I said this to a City fan. By the way, I got so much stick off of these City fans. Oh my God, man. The amount of stick that I picked up off these City fans was ridiculous, right? But I said this to a City fan. He was going, "Oh, mate, he's been very patronising."
Oh, they're right.
Well done. You've had a decent season.
Yeah.
But, you know what I mean? So I was like, I'm listening to him like, yeah, I get it. Yeah, you lot are on your way to winning it. So I said, but I go, bro, it ain't finished yet, He goes, it's done. I said, listen, you're probably right. You probably are going to go on and win it. I go, I've not seen anything that I saw on Wednesday night to suggest that you'll drop points. You guys, your team looks excellent.
Yeah.
Your team looks brilliant, and I fully expect you to go on and win it now. It's fully advantage with you. I said, however, you can't say for sure yet, right? Because I go, remember last season when you played a Real Madrid in that semi-final in the Champions League? I go, you are 2 goals up
with a minute to go,
with 1 minute to go, and you lost the game. No, they drew. They drew the game and they went out.
Yeah, they went out. I think they went out.
They went out on an aggregate score, right?
Yeah, great, wasn't it?
Right. So I said, remember that? He goes, oh yeah. He goes, true. It's true. But you're not Real Madrid. I said, yeah, we're not Real Madrid, but it just goes to show funny things can happen in football.
Yeah.
So Arsenal have to be. We got to keep these men honest, right? And we just got to keep in there. We've got to, if the players start thinking like a lot of fans are thinking, where it's done, then what's the point in the season's just going to peter out?
And listen, I actually said on my fan cam, Man City fans are arrogant. It weren't a criticism, right? Because it's a nice that they're arrogant because they've got the right to be like, that's what I was sort of saying. Because I had a Man City fan on the tram winning the league. He went, it's a bit boring now. Keep winning it. Do you know what I mean? I went, no, I don't know what it means. Like, to continually keep winning, it's boring. It's great when we first done it, but 4 out of 5 now, got to be 5 out of 6. Bit boring. You know what I mean? Maybe it is. Well, we wouldn't know, but
if they, that's the one thing. The one thing is, right, that Pep's not going to be complacent like that, and that is the problem. You know what I mean? He's not going to be complacent.
And I don't think winning titles is boring to him.
Yeah, you know what I mean? But the thing is about it, right, is that this is football. Like you just said with that Ronnie O'Sullivan thing, like I said, that was Man City last year, favourites to go through. We've seen it in the pot. Football's a funny game.
Yeah, best player in the world as well, he is. Yeah. Number one, just like they are.
Exactly. But the thing is, it will mean nothing if we're not putting pressure on. If we're not in a position where we're saying, right, game by game, we're going to try and win all the rest of our games and see where it takes us, right? We've got to be in a position that if they do slip up,
we don't, exactly that. And that's
we can pounce and maybe, because remember, even the last time they beat us, they actually slipped up the next game. They beat us at the Emirates, came, and then unbelievable win, actually moved ahead of us.
Yeah.
So all of a sudden it was all in their own hands. And then they drew the very next game away to Nottingham Forest. Nobody was expecting that. And then I remember even in that little run, they had a game against Palace where, they got a very fortunate penalty. Well, it wasn't a fortunate penalty. It was a penalty. It was a penalty, but they got
unnecessary, wasn't it?
Yeah, they scraped to like a 1-0. So we got to be sticking around.
And that's my thing. If you like, when I go back to that Ronnie O'Sullivan thing, he is the best player. He only needs 3 frames. But that fella, he's a Belgian fella. I can't think of his name now. But what he done was he won and won and won and won, and he put pressure. Despite him winning 7 titles, despite him being the best in the world, he got under his skin, and the pressure took, and they went on to do. So what the fatal thing is for Arsenal to do now is to go out on a whim, like go and play Chelsea at home and drop more points. Go to Newcastle, which by the way they're in superb form at the moment, but go there and
another tough game.
But what Arsenal got to do again is win that game. We keep winning, and at the end of it, you never know. But what it would do is just keep the momentum going and all that.
And we cannot undo
all the good work we've done
this season, right? So that you
end up losing 6 or 7 games, Robbie. Come on.
Do you know what? I remember back in the day, right, when I used to, when I used to do my music and that.
Yeah.
I wanted to go on stage and stuff like that, right? And I remember the guys and my agent at the time used to say to me, he goes, always every time you come off stage, leave people in a high.
Yeah.
Because he goes, there's 2 things people remember. They remember the start of the show, how you come on and the entrance and how you got the place hype, and they remember the end. And what he used to say to me, you get some people, they come on, start the show brilliantly, and then they end the show, you know what I mean? Maybe they stay on too long and it gets a bit boring and that. And he goes, people remember the end.
Yeah.
And they think, what was he like? They won't even remember the big excitement at the start. So it's like this is similar with Arsenal, right? Finish on a high. Let people remember all the good work, even if we fall short, all the good work we've done this season. Met all those fans. We've lost 4 games only so far this season, right? Let's try and keep it to that. So when the fans at the end of the season can look back at this season, regardless of how it ends up, with pride, and it doesn't just peter out. And then, as I said, you put yourself in a position that any little slip up by Man City, we're there to pounce. This is what it is right now. We have gone from being the hunted to the hunter. We have to be back to hunters again.
Yeah.
Honestly, it has been bugging me out, right? So many fans, and as I said, I do understand the doom and gloom because of the other night, but so many fans just basically just saying they give up, it's over, it's done. And then when I try to say something different, they're calling me deluded. Robbie, go and get Ty's bottle. Robbie, shut up. You know what I mean? Oh, you're the sort of fan that makes me sick because instead of just accepting it, well then what's the point in going to Chelsea then? No point in going to that Chelsea game.
Listen,
what's the point in going to the Newcastle game? What's the point?
Listen,
season's over. I'm not operating like that. I'm sorry.
I don't think that we can win it now, if I'll be honest. But it's not about that no more.
Exactly.
For me. It's about winning our games. You know what I mean? Like game by game now, and you never know what's going to happen. But I can tell you this now: if we have the attitude it's over and finished against Chelsea, we won't beat Chelsea.
The players have the attitude
of that. You've got done.
What some. As I said, I'm seeing some fans.
Yeah. As
I said, then what is the point?
I expect to go there on Tuesday night and that stadium to be vibrant.
Up there. Exactly. When go there on Tuesday night, I expect that stadium to be on the same fire as it's been on the other games.
Yeah.
I expect the fans to be up for it. It's a London derby against Chelsea. And we know Chelsea have been in the mud, and I know everybody, again, when I've been talking to some fans, I can't beat Chelsea, they're rubbish. I get that, but we've still got to treat them with the respect that they deserve, because they've still got players that can hurt us. João Felix, Raheem Sterling, they're in a bad moment, but they still got top players, right? So we've got to go there and treat them with respect. But what a great opportunity to get back on track by beating Chelsea. As a matter of fact, last season, when we fell, remember we got this, we had those, it's almost like a parallel, isn't it? We had those 3 losses.
Went there and won.
And we went to Chelsea, and that was Eddie.
Yeah, Eddie.
No one gave us a prayer in that game either, and Eddie went there and put in a great display, and we ended up beating them, and then went on another little run after that. Can't just whimper out of this season.
No, I look at it, and
that would be annoying to me. That would annoy me.
For me, the chance to do the double over Chelsea, rub it into them. They are having a bad time. Put it to them. Put them to the sword. That's what we've got to get back to. Putting teams to the sword, game by game. And as much as it's been disappointing over the last few days, isn't it? As we can't deny it, it's been like for the last few games.
Very, very,
very, very tough on us.
Very tough.
We'll look forward to Tuesday, getting back up and giving it a good go. I do think there'll be a slight bit of pressure off because of what's happened. I felt that we never controlled the game against Southampton. I think we will do in this game.
I think the pressure will be on in that game.
I
think the pressure will be on.
Depends what happens on
do you know
Sunday,
why? Do you know why I think the pressure's on? Because it's a big game, right? At home, everybody remembers what happened at Southampton. Everybody is expecting us to beat Chelsea. Everybody. And as I said, they've got good players. It's a free hit for Chelsea, right? Because all their fans are expecting them to lose as well. Watch the superfan debates, you'll see, right? Everybody's expecting us to beat Chelsea, so it's a free hit. And they'll know that, in this terrible season, if we can go there and get one over Arsenal in there and completely stop them from having any hope of the title, at least our fans will give us a bit of credit for that.
Yeah.
Right? So I think the pressure's on Arsenal to win that game. Right? The pressure's on Arsenal completely. I don't think any pressure's on Chelsea because all their fans are expecting them to lose. Most pundits are expecting them to lose. Right? The pressure is on Arsenal. They have to win that game. And also I feel that we have to win that game and probably win it well, because the next game after that is Newcastle away. We went there last year and we got it was a bit like similar to it reminded me of that City game the other day, where we hardly got a kick in that game. Even though we had a lot of injuries, a lot of players missing, it was a very, very poor performance. We cannot afford to go to Newcastle and play like that. That place is on fire at the moment. That's one of the hardest grounds to go to right now in the country. We've got to go there and give a good account of ourselves. We didn't go Brighton at home. They beat us last year, right? We got to put in a performance against them. We got to go to Forest away. Forest away is a place where in the cup, we went there and got turned over. Now listen, we've thrashed them 5-0 earlier on in the season, and then we finish off with Wolves at home. I want to see game by game the performances rising again. Let's finish the season strongly. We're under a lot of pressure. The pressure's on now as well. Even though most people are saying the league's done, we will get laughed at and mocked every single point we drop from now till the end of the season. Right? So let's finish it strong.
Yeah, and also I think, which is very important, Robin, which people forget about, it goes on, we don't want it, we want going into next season now, a little bit of momentum, you know what I mean? You lose a few more games and whatever and blah, blah, blah. I think we need to finish this season off strong and show a little bit about ourselves. I think at the end of it, sometimes when the shackles might be off, and I'll say like a pressure shot, that, we've got the expectation of winning it now. That's gone now. You can be a little... Do you know, like when we played Newcastle last season, we lost, and then the next game, the last game of the season, it was Everton. There was a little bit, but it weren't there. Blew them away. That's the sort of thing that we've got to do now. But we've got to learn from everything that's happened, and I think us fans as well, have got to learn from what's happened over the last few weeks. Never take nothing for granted. Everything you've got to work for. Never disrespect any sort of team, whether it be Southampton, which probably said, we can do without Xhaka for this game. No, every game's tough in the Premier League, so realise it and respect it. and the players have got to learn from what they're doing here. Like, you know, I felt that we was under the pump. Sometimes things are not going well for you, Robbie, and you get something done. And it'd be very, very interesting now. These next 5 games, I'm looking at Mikel. Have you got what it takes to take us to the promised land? You've putting us on the right path, and now you need to do it, because I think like come Tuesday now, innit? I think he's got to make changes to that back. He's got to do something different to that. But he cannot concede in
what would you for Tuesday's game?
What I'll do on Tuesday.
Let me get a quick starting 11 off of you. Obviously, Ramsdale in goal.
What's
your back four?
My back four would be Zinchenko at right back.
Right back.
Okay, I'll tell you why in a minute. Right back, Tierney at left back, central defence of Ben White and Gabriel. I would put Zinchenko in there because at times when Tomiyasu played against Liverpool, bit of a masterstroke, he played him at left back, but he comes into the middle anyway. So why not put him into that rear? Now it does disrupt the free flow bit of the Martinelli does a different role to what Saka and Ben White do a different role. It might change, but that is what I would do. If he's not going to do that, then you've got to change it. Maybe because we're at home, maybe go a little bit different. I would probably play someone like Nelson as a false right back or something like that, and Ben White in there. But that has got to change. Something's got to change in that central defence. And I look at it and I think to myself, right,
midfield?
Same midfield if all fit.
And up front?
I would bring in Trossard for Jesus.
Okay.
I said it before and people have mocked me a little bit for it. He's come back from injury, and when players come back from injury, adrenaline and the enthusiasm of being back gets you through, and then you have a little bit of a lull. It's natural, and I think that little lull has come for him now, where just take him out of it, bring in Trossard to give him a little bit of a run already. Either or, and that would be my thing about it. Look, or even go to a back three. Do something different in there.
Yeah. I don't think I would do much different because we're at home against Chelsea.
Yeah, that's the thing.
I'm thinking Newcastle. I might switch some things up, but
definitely Newcastle a back three up
away.
there.
But I think I'd go. I wouldn't have Zinchenko right back. I'd actually leave Zinchenko out of this game, and I'd put Tierney in. Right. So I'd have Tierney in. Ben White. I keep holding him for this game. Gabriel, Tierney. Then a midfield would be the same midfield. Yeah, same midfield. And I agree with you up front. Trossard in, and I was really thinking about maybe starting Reece Nelson, right? Because he just looks so lively, aggressive, really, really played well when he came on for that little cameo. And it's a couple of games now when he's come in, and I've really liked what he's done. But still, I think probably you have to go with Saka for this game. This is a big game. You start with Saka, but if he's not going...
if he's not going well, be ruthless.
Yeah. But then I look on it and I say, Saka, Martinelli, I'll probably put Trossard in as well, actually. You guys, you owe us a performance. Everyone in that team owes the fans a performance after the last game away at Man City. Go out there and show them what you're made of, right? And that's what I want to see, that's what I want to see. But I think maybe Zinchenko will be the guy I'd leave out. He's looked a little...
Well, he's been poor.
It looks a bit poorer past few games. It looks a bit shaky as well. You know what I mean? And maybe he just needs a little rest, taking out.
Like when they do these press conferences and all that, the question for me is now to Mikel. The first question: what has Tierney done wrong, or what has he got to do to get back in this team? Because I've seen poor performances from a lot of players this season. I've seen not poor performances, for instance, dips. And being left out, I see Martinelli not having the greatest game on Wednesday, straight off, right. I don't see Zinchenko coming straight off for Tierney.
I didn't understand Zinchenko staying on for the whole game.
Yeah,
I thought he had a poor game.
Yeah,
right?
but why is it all right to take Martinelli off and not him?
I didn't understand. I would have taken off Zinchenko.
Jesus was quiet as anything. Yeah,
right. You know what I mean? Jesus was quiet, getting no joy as well. It changed. It livened up. All right, you can say that City had taken off certain players and the job's done, but it livened up when Eddie and Reece came on.
Yeah,
and
game's blossomed.
I know he's lost, but he livened up. So I want to see, you know what I mean? I mean, I just want to see a bit of energy. I think Tierney has to start against Chelsea.
Well, I'd ask him, what's he done wrong?
Yeah, it's time, unless he's carrying some sort of injury or something,
well, he
has to start in that game. To me...
And the other thing is, I want from Mikel this week is Saliba's out for the season. That's it, because I think it's.
Well, he did actually say in the last. Yeah, he did actually last say
because I think like at the end of the day,
he's no nearer starting. Yeah, and I guess they're trying to. I think, listen, if they realise and once they know that there's, if it's mathematically there's no chance, he will be out. But I guess. The problem when it's a back injury, they go and risk him, and then he's out for the start of next season as well.
Well, no, I'd rather know now. I'd rather know now because I think it's not fair on Holding. Everyone's going,
those two players at the back. It has been so unfortunate, man, that the two of them, Saliba and Tomiyasu, two of the most solid defenders in our team, are out.
Yeah,
it's such a blow.
And it's because
I've even felt. I'll tell you what, right? If Tomiyasu would have been fit. Say everybody was fit. I even think the last few games, Ben White would have come out for me. Because I think he's had a dip as well, man. Yeah. I think he's really dropped off the last few games.
Last couple of games dropped tremendously.
He would have come out of the team for me, and I would have put Tomiyasu in.
Yeah.
I don't know what you think. I know you've been a massive fan of him this season.
I'm a massive fan of Ben White. This is what I'm going on about why you can't criticise these players, because I'm a big fan of Ben White. But if he'd have been playing like he has the last few games right back at the beginning of the season, you'd be saying, what is Arteta doing with him there?
Yeah.
Like, he's been poor.
Yeah, you know what I mean? Unfortunate.
I'm going to say this now. With Ben, I am a big fan of his. Right, so let's get that out there and all that. Didn't like what he done at the end of the game. Didn't like that. You know what I mean? Why are you showing all that fight? I want to fight Foden after the game. Do it on the pitch. Show your fight. Show your, hit him in the game. Do you know what I mean? Well, it don't matter. Could have got sent off afterwards.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
We'd be out for this
but
game.
I'm not saying it.
That's frustration there, because you want him to be out for the next game.
No, I'm just saying, you know what I mean? I didn't see that fight desire when he was playing. Do you know what I mean? I don't like that. It made him look like a bad loser or something like. And I know that we all are and things like that. But I'd rather him hit him on the pitch, you know what I mean, and take it. No, not get sent off.
Straight red,
straight red, yeah.
3 games out, and then you'd be like, what are you doing?
No, there's always a little part of me that likes that mischievous stuff and all that, and I do, but he could have got sent off in that thing. I don't know. He's
lost a bit of his aggression. He's lost a bit of his. I don't know if and again, I don't know if this is the Rob Holding thing.
I think it's to do with Saliba as well. Don't forget with Saliba not being there gives him that little bit of assurance.
The freedom's not there again.
Yeah.
You've got to get back in and help out. You can't leave players exposed. But it's just not.
I think it's had an all-round effect on everybody. Look how poor Gabriel's been since he's been out.
Yeah, he was awful. I'd say the other night he was worse than.
He was worse than Holding.
Way worse than Holding.
You know what I mean? But so it's had an effect on all of them. But I also think you talk about Ben White. Partey hasn't been the same the last 3 or 4.
Very poor.
There's
a shout for him to be out as well.
Yeah, listen, I don't think...
It's a shout for him to be out the team as well.
I don't think he's been anywhere near the standard he was until he went on that international break and got injured. He was
Could be a shout to start Jorginho in that game. He will be up against his old club as well.
You know what I mean? He has been poor the last few games. Xhaka has been poor in the last couple of games. You can hold your hands up and say he weren't well and all that, but I thought he was... poor in this game here. So it's not just there. You go into that game on Wednesday and you go, right, you need everybody playing.
Tuesday.
You know what I mean? Or like Wednesday, you need them all to play well. Ramsdale, I think, played well when it didn't matter. Because I think he should have saved the first one, if I'll be honest. I don't know what he was doing for the ball that went across, which I think was a penalty, but But other than that, he was good there. But then you look at it, Ben White didn't play well, Holding didn't play well, Gabriel, Shinchenko.
Everybody did. No one played well after that. No one played well.
None of them played well.
The only one, Ramsdale, was the only one.
I think Ramsdale, at the end of the day, come out with him and Nelson could have got.
Him and Nelson.
If you was if you was on the train, I don't know if they went back by train or coach, but for me, if I was manager, I would have said to Aaron and Reece, you go in first class, boys. The rest of you, you're in the you're in with the baggage this week, like, you know what I mean? Like, you can come in with the security or whatever, like, you know? But them two, you go and get your nice hot cup of cocoa because they deserve it. Because the others didn't come out there and do it. But as I said before, they have been so good for us all this season. It's very, very hard to go, right, I'm going to bash you, and the manager as well, like, you know. Listen, it's been a pleasure watching Arsenal this season. Even like that Liverpool first 20 minutes, we destroyed Liverpool first 20 minutes. I don't know what's gone wrong since then, but it's very, very hard to be critical at this moment in time. But that doesn't mean to say, and I get it when fans, and I think this needs addressing as well before we go. Yes, it's disappointing. Yes, you can turn around, and if you're not happy with us coming second, and I've got no bones with that. Like, you know, it has been disappointing. If you want to be disappointed and all that, I get that. And if you see it as a failure, I get that. It is a failure. We have failed. I'm not going to sugarcoat it. I said that to you on the way back. I'm not sugarcoating nothing. We have failed. We have failed into the position that we've got, but we got ourselves into that position, which nobody else did. You know, I mean, that's the thing you got to think of. We got ourselves into that position. Take comfort from that and consolation from it. But don't say, all right, well, we was expected to come fourth, so it's a great season. No.
I as I said, I don't want the team to give up yet until it's mathematically impossible, right? So next game, Chelsea at home, go out there, beat them, get some pride back, get some confidence back ahead of that Newcastle game by game, but I do not want to see us give up because it's not completely finished yet. Don't forget, by the way, claim your NordVPN discount by using the code AFTV at the checkout. Visit nordvpn.com/AFTV. Also, don't forget, as I've been saying right at the start of the show, we're going to be doing a very special podcast. It's live. We're live on stage at the Islington Assembly Hall. It's me, Lee, on stage. We're going to have guests. I'll give you more details of it next week, but you do not want to miss this. Get your tickets now before they all sell out. Tuesday, the 23rd of May.
It'd be great to meet everybody, wouldn't it? Because there's at times when we meet people, we have to be shooting off somewhere or getting trains and whatever. Like, you know, we can get there and have a chat.
We're going to guarantee you guys as well that once, you know, I mean, we meet everybody. We'll discuss everything with you guys. So make sure you get down there on the day. Tuesday, the 23rd of May at the Islington Assembly Hall. This is the Invincible podcast live on the day. You do not want to miss it. Lee? No game this weekend for Arsenal, so we just have to, I guess we're all Fulham fans for the weekend.
I've always had a soft spot for Fulham.
Always had a soft spot for Fulham.
Georgie Best and Rodney Marsh days and all that, like, you know. So
by the George Best.
Do you remember that? Do you remember those?
Talking about George Best the other day, I mean, listen, I never actually saw him play, but just like, I was like, if he played now, you know,
I only see him on TV.
Because he was almost like he was a playboy footballer, wasn't he?
Yeah.
He was a playboy footballer. I wonder what he would have been like now.
He'd have been up there in the Ronaldo.
He was ahead of his time with the skills and all that, you know what I mean? So
he would have been up. Listen, I'll tell you where I always gauge this, right, how good George Best was, right? Because my dad was a Arsenal fan and, you know, hated every other team and all that, like, blah, blah,
George
blah.
Best played for United, didn't he?
But George Best played for United. And he'd turn around and he'd say, like, Bobby Charlton, great player, you know, the team aside, and George Best, he said, wow, what a player George Best was, like, you know what I mean?
He was one of those players that all opposition fans
respected. So that shows you how good he must have been, like, do you know what I mean? I never really see it. I see him, you know, on the big match when he used to show the Fulham games, but he wasn't at his peak and best then, like, you know. But my dad always used to turn around and go, when you say, what was he like, George? Oh, great player, like, and I think, but he was a Man United player. Yeah, it didn't matter.
Well, Fulham fans, Fulham team, we need a George Best this weekend.
Come on, the Cottagers.
Come on, you Cottagers. Right, but listen, and then we got to do our own business when it comes to that Chelsea game. Let's not give up until it's mathematically impossible. Thanks for watching the Invincible podcast today. Lee, once again, big up. We can't wait to see you guys live. Don't forget to check out NordVPN. As I said, click the link in the description to get it now, especially if you're going on as many holidays as he does. Right, and we will see you next week. The Invincible podcast. Myself, Robbie, and Lee Judges come together once a week to discuss all things Arsenal. Straight talking, considered discussion, brought to you by the fans of the only club in Football League history to go invincible.